to now assist in addressing the problem of climate change?
Question number 11, Dr. David Clark.
My question is to the Minister of Health and asks, has the Minister seen reports that Waikato Hospital is advising against sick people visiting their hospital and is advising people now not to attend hospital an acceptable strategy under his government for reducing the gap between service demand and service delivery in the health system?
The Honourable Nicky Wagner.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Health, no, but I have seen reports of non-urgent people being asked to check with their GPs first. It is a well-established fact that hospitals across the world can reach capacity with seasonal influxes from time to time. The Waikato Hospital has a plan to deal with such incidents of seasonal pressure and tell me that they are already largely back to normal. Managing seasonal demand is not new. In fact, I have a quote from Dr. Mills from the Waikato Hospital saying, "From our perspective, this is just an ordinary winter," and that was dated July 20, 2006, under the Labour government.
It was normal.
Order. Order. Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
What action will he take in response to reports that yesterday GPs were being asked not to refer patients to Waikato Hospital until the current crisis is over?
The Honourable Nicky Wagner.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Health, as I have already reported, the District Health Board says that they are back to normal already. But there is a well-established practice of how you should access your emergency departments. They are called emergency departments for a reason. The first thing to do if you are sick is maybe talk to a pharmacy or talk to a telehealth. The second thing is to go to your GP or after-hours services. If you are too sick for that, you can go to the District Health Board and the emergency department will look after you, just as they have done forever.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
What does he intend to do about the fact that all 3 Auckland DHBs are now under pressure and have all reported an increase in full bed days over recent years?
The Honourable Nicky Wagner.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Health, I know the member is new to health, but he should understand that there has always been seasonal pressures on DHBs and that they have a plan to deal with them, and they are doing that effectively and well.
Order. 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 I have a point of order from Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, the Minister began her answer with an insult, which meant that many other members wouldn't have heard the substantive answer, which in fact didn't address the question that was asked.
Oh, no, I listened very carefully to the answer. It wasn't easy, and the reason it wasn't easy is the clamour of interjection coming from my left. I do accept the original part of the start of the answer was not that helpful to the order of the House, but I do point out throughout the answers that have been given by the Minister, the member that's asking the question hasn't stopped to listen to the answers because he's been interjecting too hard himself. Further supplementary?
Supplementary.
Order. Order. I don't need assistance from the front bench to my right. Supplementary question, Dr. David Clark.
Supplementary. So does he now think it is acceptable for this 79-year-old cancer patient to wait at an Auckland hospital until nearly 6 hours after his accident for his wound to be cleaned and made to wait 10 hours for food before an assessment for surgery could be made, just yesterday?
The Honourable Nicky Wagner.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Health, I'm afraid I can't give you the full details of this case, but I have been assured that the clinical care was appropriate and that the gentleman was looked after well.
Oh, further supplementary? Oh, supplementary question. Order. 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 Supplementary question. Dr. David Clark.
How much more does he expect to announce in the health budget, beyond the additional $1 billion needed for district health boards to fund the aged care settlement and to maintain existing service levels for a growing population? And when will he begin to pay back the $1.7 billion beyond that he has stripped out of the sector over the previous 6 years?
The Honourable Nicky Wagner.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Health, I'm sorry I didn't hear the beginning of that question, but what I can tell you is that every year since National has been in government, we have increased vote health. Right now, the official advice tells me that the spend per person has gone up around from $2,000 per person to $2,500. That's not a funding cut. It's about a 21% increase since we've been in government, ahead of inflation, which is 15%. So the government has increased vote health by over $4 billion, and official advice again tells us that the DHBs have been funded not only for increases but for their population and inflation. And I would just like to make one point. Labour's numbers...
Order, no, the answer... The question has been answered. We don't need it any longer.
Order, sir, and I seek your guidance.
Order. 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 Point of order.
I seek your guidance. Earlier you stopped me from tabling a document that would have corrected the things that the Minister said in terms of facts from the Treasury.
I didn't stop
facts from the Treasury.
Order. I don't stop you tabling anything. What's the point?
Repeating those facts which are clearly not true by basis of the Treasury data that she will have seen and the Minister has seen.
Order. Now, the member's now getting into a matter of debate, but if he feels there's been a deliberate case of misrepresentation, then what he needs to do is haul out his standing orders, read 359, and then he'll know the course to action. It's not a matter of raising it as a point of order in this House. Question number 12. James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.